Well, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Coast Coast Gridiron YouTube channel. Back to your regular scheduled program just the day after. Jason and I coming at you for another Thursday night reaction as well as a week NFL week preview. Unfortunately, Jason and I weren't able to make it work last night, so we were able to move the show a night later. And you know what you guys should expect from Jason and I every Thursday and or Friday for this week. We'll be reacting to the Thursday night football game as well as talking a little bit about our Bills and then drafting our three favorite games of the upcoming week in the NFL. Jason, thanks for joining me for another week of previewing the NFL, buddy. How you doing?
Yeah, sure thing, Cole. I'm doing really well. Pretty busy week for me, but glad to talk some football with you.
Yeah, man. So, like we were saying, a little bit busy for the both of us. Weren't able to make it work last night. Obviously, we get the not the maybe overwhelming result that we wanted, but we got a Bills win. And was a little bit disappointing at first. I thought we weren't going to be able to make it work. We weren't going to be able to talk about our Bills getting back on track, but we were able to. So I'm excited we're going to be able to break down a win. But before we do that, if you guys could like, comment, subscribe, support Jason, both Jason and I's channel over at Hussey's Huddle on YouTube as well as Twitter. Go check out Jason's YouTube and Twitter, all the good content he's got out there. All that support would be greatly appreciated. Jason, now my question for you, buddy. Obviously, we had the disappointing, I would say the last few weeks, but disappointing result last week, specifically for your Buffalo Bills. Are we just going to completely kind of forget about that, throw out the window? Are we going to maybe touch on that after we break down this reaction? I'll throw it to you on kind of what you want to go. But in your opinion, should we maybe discuss a little bit of kind of what we thought were maybe some struggles for the Bills going into Thursday night?
Yeah, I mean, they got the win on Thursday, like you said, but I mean, it was a lot closer than it needed to be once again. I mean, going back to that Giants game, another one that was way too close for comfort. Obviously they dropped that game to the Patriots in between. So, I mean, this team has had its share of struggles lately, and it feels like, they started to figure some things out this week. I think that the biggest sign of positivity was the offense in terms of more guys outside of Stephon Diggs really stepping up. Khalil Shakir, really emerging as that after the catch threat underneath, and Gabe Davis actually doing some damage in that regard as well. So good to see that from the offense. But I think in terms of the Bills that we're used to the last few years, I feel like we're still a little bit ways off of that right now.
Yeah, a little ways off. I would imagine you're probably used to my, I guess maybe whatever you want to call it, homerism for the Buffalo Bills. I've said it all year long. I've said it for a few years now, but I try to stay off the roller coaster as much as possible. I'll be honest, that New England loss did get me quite frustrated. A little bit questioning whether or not this team is good enough. After kind of, the third week definitely helped of losing on Sunday, playing on Thursday, but I think the kind of I guess silver lining was playing on a quick week, and then some of the questions I guess that I had kind of from Sunday kind of were answered on Thursday night. For me, Jason, personally, you know, I kind of we should expect the defense to take somewhat of a step back. Two All Pros, Tre'Davious White, whether you want to say he's still an All Pro, he was once an All Pro. I still think there's a good football player in there, but a starting caliber, he'd still be our CB1. So that's still a big hit, right? So and then you look back to the Patriots game, right? We had Noah and Oliver as well, so we're missing four of our, I would say, probably our best players on defense. No, that's not an excuse, but I think like I feel like fans' expectations are a little bit too unrealistic considering who we don't have. The players getting older. I think it's been a nice few weeks for Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde, but you can see that they've definitely that I would say that they're showing a little bit of age, whether that just be the NFL kind of getting faster, all these guys just being that much faster coming out of college and that sort of thing. You're seeing them kind of be a step behind in some of the plays. I think about not that I heard this last night, but an overroute by Micah Hyde that he was just a step slower. That I've seen Micah Hyde make that play in years past. Jordan Poyer had himself a very nice game yesterday, and I think a decent game on Sunday as well versus the Patriots. But up to that point, I thought Jordan Poyer kind of looked a little bit hesitant, looked a little bit slower. So I think just with the defense kind of getting a little bit older, and then with the injuries that hit, I feel like we should expect a little bit of a step back, and then kind of fans are freaking out, right? I believe we gave up, what was it, 9 or 12 points to the Giants, which like, yeah, that's not, it's not ideal considering it was Tyrod in that banged up offense, but it still wasn't, 30 points or something like that. Yes, we gave up 29 to Mac Jones, which is absolutely embarrassing. I'm not trying to take away anything from that, but um, I feel like we haven't really played all that bad considering the kind of the variables in this conversation that need to be had. You look at last night; they obviously get put in a short field position with the Josh Allen interception, 7 points there. They obviously had the 3 points earlier in the game, but other than that, the defense was fairly clean for the most part, other than a few maybe dumb penalties in the fourth quarter there that kind of kept the Buccaneers in the game. And then if for me, I kind of would have let them off the hook for the Patriots game up until that game-winning drive by Mac Jones. The offense does enough to give you a lead with, I believe, a little over a minute to go. I'm thinking, okay, defense is going to go out there, get a stop, should be game over. They do not. The Patriots march down the field, and they should definitely wear the embarrassment of that loss in that game-winning drive. But that being said, I really feel like it's kind of unfairly unrealistic expectations for the defense. For the offense, absolutely should be criticized. Now, that being said, my questions were kind of for three individuals, specifically Jason, Josh Allen, Ken Dorsey, Sean McDermott. Starting with Josh Allen, I don't think he's played up to maybe his standards. It's funny that I say that, though, Jason, because if you look into coming into the game, he's actually leading or tied for league in passing touchdowns with 15 with Patrick Mahomes and Tua Tagovailoa. All three of them have 15. I believe he's 6 in passing yards. So it's funny that his off 8 games is still elite level quarterback play, and I think people need to kind of remember that and really forget that. It could really just like you probably tell by my tone kind of changing that people really disrespect our quarterback, disrespect Josh Allen, especially in the fan base. Outside of the fan base, it's a little bit different when you're not maybe watching as much. But for people that criticize Josh Allen and really have unfair takes, in my opinion, that he's going to have a bad game or two. It happens in the NFL. Like Patrick Mahomes doesn't play perfect. Even when to complain about his interceptions. Going into last night, he had one more interception than Tua and Patrick Mahomes. He had 7 interceptions. The both of them had 6 interceptions. So that the people kind of panicking about, oh my God, he turns over the football. Yes, he absolutely does. That's he doesn't he shouldn't be forgiven or let off the hook. He's like I said, 3 of the top names that I have that kind of should be blamed, have most blamed in the Bills' struggles here. So not to kind of baby Josh Allen or not, but he's off 8 games is still elite level, top 5 level play in the NFL. That being said, he's still kind of I feel like struggling a little bit when it comes to processing things, reading the field correctly. Now we saw that kind of change last night. There was a lot of Jason. I'm not too sure how much of the game you're able to take in. I know you're on the road, buddy, but a lot of checks at the line, a lot of audibles. I'm sure you saw on Twitter afterwards all the LeBron James, Taylor Swift, J.R. Smith. There was a lot of that going on last night where you could hear on the TV copy of Josh Allen getting to the line, whether it was protection checks, whether it was changing the play in general. A lot of Josh Allen communicating to his offense at the line of scrimmage, a lot of processability that Josh Allen had been struggling with in weeks before. I'm not the biggest film guy. I don't have access to it, but through kind of a few accounts that I follow on Twitter and YouTube, I'm able to take a little bit of it in, and people that I respect, some of the guys that Cover One, the film room, the QB room, a few guys that do film like content had kind of spotlighted. Josh Allen had struggled in a few weeks past in kind of sliding protections either the wrong way, not picking up the protections the right way, and or just not seeing the blitz and not throwing into the blitz. We had seen that multiple times on last night, Thursday, and that's why it's kind of I guess I should maybe touch on some of these frustrations before we get into some of the positive, Jason. And kind of, it was nice to see some of these answered because getting into Ken Dorsey, there definitely been some, I think rightfully so, criticism on Ken Dorsey. I had said in weeks past that I kind of lay at 60, 20, 20 in kind of these three individuals in terms of where I place blame. And Ken Dorsey, I think I kind of like the the game that I saw from him yesterday. The Bills come out their first drive, they're able to start fast, they go down the field, get 3 points. I definitely criticized him on not really scheming anybody else open other than Stephon Diggs, and we saw that last night from three individuals being heavily targeted. I believe Gabe Davis was targeted 12 times, 9 receptions. Khalil Shakir, I believe, 6 receptions. As well as Dalton Kincaid, 5 receptions. And we had seen, Gabe Davis get schemed open, not down the field in some shorter areas where it's more a higher catch percentage. When you're targeting Gabe Davis downfield so much, his catch percentage is going to be lower when you're throwing a lot more of those 50-50 balls. That's why they're called 50-50 balls. So getting him open in the shorter intermediate area was nice to see, as well as Khalil Shakir kind of being a little bit in that Cole Beasley type role out of the slot. Some of those blitzes where he kind of just feels the leverage of the defense, is able to turn left or right and kind of give that positive body language to Josh Allen. Josh Allen was able to hit him. I believe he had like 69 yards, Jason, in the first half alone. So Khalil Shakir, very impressive. Very nice game plan by Ken Dorsey as well. And then Sean McDermott. I thought he had maybe been kind of where maybe I'll wrap a bow on this, Jason, where I thought some of the Bills' struggles kind of had laid in. Number one, not really for the first time in Josh Allen's career, they didn't have the fallback of Josh Allen running up to Thursday. We haven't seen a called QB run, I don't think, up until Thursday, where we actually saw a QB draw. Now Josh Allen's shoulder, whether that's kind of another conversation of why we haven't been calling some design QB runs. Um, I feel like we were maybe a little bit thinking too much. Josh Allen alluded to it in his one of his press conferences in this week of, maybe I'm just thinking too much and I should just go out there and play some ball. I felt like there was a little bit too many voices in Josh Allen's head with, Sean McDermott kind of being a little bit of uh, that defensive minded kind of, we have it on defense. Try to trust us, Josh. Don't turn over the ball. Play that kind of complementary style of football, as well as wanting to run the ball. And then Ken Dorsey, I feel like not really being. I personally, not that I have any kind of evidence of this, but I feel like Ken Dorsey maybe is a little bit too buddy with Josh Allen. He wouldn't maybe check Josh Allen in some sort of situations where I feel like Brian Dable would. And then I think just Josh Allen kind of getting into his head a little bit and letting those voices maybe just creep in there too much. I think Josh Allen, we saw a much more relaxed Josh Allen, kind of just letting it flow, and we saw him return to form. I believe he was, 31 of 40, 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. Yes, he had the interception, but it was a batted pass on a free blitzer. So for me, it was definitely a frustrating few days, Jason, but some of the answers were corrected in Thursday's night game. Now, it wasn't the prettiest. We weren't able to finish the deal the way I think all Bills fans would have liked, but we're able to get the dub nonetheless and get out of there 5-3. So, Jason, I will turn it over to you, buddy. Like I said, I'm not too sure how much of the game you're able to take in, but of the 24-18 Buffalo Bills win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, what was your biggest takeaway going into next week?
Yeah, so I missed a lot of the game live. I wasn't really able to catch much of it live, so I actually got to watch. I have the Zone streaming, so I watched the 45-minute condensed version today. So I was able to catch the whole game, and I thought the biggest takeaway for me is the emergence of Dalton Kincaid. I think that he really is the key. I've been talking about it for weeks. I think that they need somebody to really step up as that legitimate number 2 weapon in this offense to take a lot of pressure off of Diggs. And, obviously Gabe Davis, he's going to have some big games, but he's clearly not the most well-rounded receiver and not really the most reliable guy on a week-to-week basis. Obviously, he had a big game in this one, but Kincaid, the last couple of weeks, had a really strong game against New England. This week, he got his first touchdown. So the arrow is pointing up for Dalton Kincaid, and I think that is a huge development for the Bills going forward. And obviously, tight ends have a tough transition into the NFL, but I think this year you're starting to see rookie tight ends make a little bit more of an impact. Obviously Kincaid, but Sam Laporta in Detroit as well. So I think at the end of the day, Kincaid being a difference maker for the Bills offense is so important down the stretch. And, the biggest thing going down the stretch here is the schedule is going to get a lot tougher. And I think that the Bills are going to be really tested in these coming weeks. And the offense is going to have to play better. They're not going to be able to only score 7 points in the second half and win a lot of these games going down the stretch. So really interested to see how they respond. But yeah, they got the win in this one.
Yes, I'm glad that that was your biggest takeaway, Jason, and I think that's a good kind of talking point for the both of us. You know, I've been a fan of Dawson Knox, but definitely maybe a positive to his injury and being placed on IR is a more focused approach for Dalton Kincaid being involved in the offense. You know, and like I said, I've liked Dawson Knox throughout his Bills career, but I have found that he is a little bit inconsistent in terms of maybe some of those holding on to some footballs and stuff like that. Now, you could definitely maybe, not blame it or, say he has an excuse, but he was dealing with a pretty significant enough, wrist injury to go on IR, have some surgery, so you gotta give the guy somewhat of a break, right? He is out there battling it, battling through, injury, right? So, definitely, like I said, I love Dawson Knox, nothing personal, but, um, a little bit inconsistent, and when you're, maybe having, the same amount of snaps as Dalton Kincaid, I really feel like this is the opportunity that the Bills needed to see, especially maybe a Sean McDermott who is a little bit hesitant to maybe give some rookies a little bit more accountability on the offense and stuff like that. They've seen now, you know what? Excuse me, Jason. Dalton Kincaid can handle it. Give this guy the leash, let him go, run wild. The thing that I really like, Jason, is he's uh, to this point, knock on wood, I really hope I don't jinx the guy, but very consistent at the catch point. It seems like he catches a lot of balls. You know, the other thing is the yak yards, and it appears that he is a weapon for yards after the catch and getting upfield, being a weapon that Stephon Diggs is a good receiver, but I don't know if his best ability is yards after catch. Not to really call out Steph because I love my guy, but it appears a lot of the time Steph tries to he usually takes a nice like I feel like he kind of is he takes smart approaches to not getting hit, and that's why we haven't seen Stephon Diggs, another knock on wood, miss any games throughout his Bills career because he's smart about not getting hits. Usually he goes down early and stuff like that. So the yards after the catch has been, I feel like, a area that the Bills need, especially with Gabe Davis not really being a separator, not being able to give you that ability as well. So Don Kincaid being able to bring that, I feel like, is a positive for the Bills. And I think another positive with Dawson Knox being out as well as Quentin Morris is leaning into 11 personnel a little bit more. I feel like we drafted Dalton Kincaid in the first round, and it was let's just go 12 personnel. Maybe for I guess for those that don't know, that would be one running back, two tight ends, and then however many receivers. I guess two receivers with five linemen. Um, Now doing 11 personnel when you're able to have three receivers, one tight end, one running back. I feel like having Khalil Shakir and or Deontay Hardy or Trent Sherfield on the field gives the Bills another weapon. And I feel like can be the Bills, should be the Bills' higher majority of operating in 11 personnel rather than 12 personnel going forward. But who knows what will happen when Dawson Knox get back on the field because he is a really great blocker and he is important role, don't get me wrong, folks, to this offense and will be a big part of this offense when he comes back. So, Jason, I guess, buddy, let's kind of get into the game a little bit more. Um, to wrap things up, I guess, from a defensive perspective, people are kind of concerned, Jason. And like I said, for me, I'm not too concerned because of who we're kind of without. And I feel like the struggle should be somewhat expected. For me, the concern would be against a Kansas City next week against a Cincinnati, Philadelphia in the playoffs, where I will have to be a little bit more realistic. And I think going into the game was if you're expecting the defense to bail us out, I really feel like you have uh, some unrealistic expectations for the defense, considering some of those offenses you're going against. Even in Baltimore, a Lamar Jackson led Baltimore Ravens, some of the offenses in even a Jacksonville, some of these offenses that are in the AFC that you're going to have to go against. In my opinion, it's very unfortunate in a season like this, but and it's crazy because it's only week 8. But for my money, from here on out, it's kind of on the offense to win us these big games because I don't trust the defense, right? And that's I guess that's what I'm trying to say for Bills fans is it's just it's unfortunate in the middle of the season. There's not a lot we can do. I guess there's a trade deadline, maybe Jason potentially on Tuesday, but I'm not too sure what you can do bandaging something in the middle of the season, considering you'd have to give up uh, who knows what for who are you even looking for, right? Like a defensive tackle to replace Daquan Jones. Like, can you name anybody that's like on the market that's available?
Yeah.
Not really. Linebackers, I can't really think of anybody. Maybe someone that's like a Alex Anzalone, is it a Detroit Lion, or you guys have a third linebacker that I believe kind of played a lot of snaps. That's kind of not getting a lot of snaps. I forget his name off the top of my head because you guys drafted Jack Campbell. He kind of took a backseat role. I know his name was a little bit popular out there in the offseason, and maybe potentially the Bills trading for him around preseason. But if neither of us know his name, no offense, but he couldn't be that much of a solution to the problem over a Tyrell Dotson and or Dorian Williams. Yes, they're struggling, but at this point, they're in house. They know the playbook. Whoever you'd be trading for is an outside the building type player who'd have to learn the playbook, learn the scheme, get comfortable around the same defensive player. So I just really feel like from a defensive standpoint, it's all about creating turnovers and not letting the dam burst and giving your offense every opportunity to win us some ball games. So, Jason, for me, let's flip back over to the offense before we close out. It was really nice to see the offense get back on track. 300-yard game from Josh Allen, I believe 450 total yards of offense. Now, where it was a little bit frustrating is we come out of the third quarter, we have what was a 9-play, 75-yard drive in 4 minutes and 20 seconds, ending in a Gabe Davis touchdown to start the second half. Excuse me. And from that point on, we go punt, 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 and I believe punt. I believe. Um, I guess this will be a two-part question. Um, so if you do go look back at those, right, Jason? How much concern would you have in the second half struggles offensively with the Bills? And then my second part would be, the Bills had, I believe, possession inside, yes, inside Tampa Bay Buccaneers territory 4 times in the second half. Sean McDermott chose to punt all 4 of those. I believe one of them was a 4th and 2, 4th and 7. I believe another one was 4th and there was at least 3 4th and manageable situations as well as a 4th and 1 situation. So my second question would be: did you like the situational awareness by Sean McDermott, and how much of the struggles of the offense in the second half would be concerning, considering they were driving the field just stalled out here and there?
Yeah, I mean, as for the situational stuff, I feel like I would probably have to go back to see, were they up 2 touchdowns at that point of the game? Because I think for a lot of the second half, they were up 24-10. So, I mean, I'm okay with punting, I guess. In a lot of those situations, you don't want to give an offense, a shorter field by turning the ball over on downs around midfield. But I think as for the Bills' offense as a whole, I think that, it's weird because they started hot in this game and then kind of fizzled out towards the end of the game, and obviously only have the second 7 points, I should say, in the second half. And then last week against New England, it was the opposite issue where they started slow and then came on in the second half. So I think it's all about playing a complete 60 minutes of football. I think that since the Dolphins game, they really haven't had that offensively. So I think even if you look at the Giants game, they came on strong in the fourth quarter, but the other 3 quarters, they got 0 points. So I think it's all about the consistency on a quarter-to-quarter basis for the Buffalo Bills offense. And if they can do that, start the game on time and finish the game effectively, I think it would really help this defense out in securing some of these wins because, like you said, I'm not really disappointed with the defense's performance because of all the injuries that they have. And one point on the defense I wanted to make is that Ed Oliver being there was huge. I think Ed Oliver may be the most important defensive player on the Bills right now with all the injuries that we have. I mean, he's really having a true breakout season this year.
And getting a little bit of pro on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. That extension is looking great this offseason, considering he is. I don't even know if he's top 5 in defensive tackles paid. Looking great for that contract, considering it. A lot of people were saying, Daquan Jones has a lot to do with Ed Oliver's success early in the season. I believe he's tied his career high in sacks already with, I want to say 5 or 6 through 8 games, which is absolutely phenomenal. He doesn't even have his Batman to his Robin, whatever you want to call it, and Daquan Jones beside him, playing with a lot of Jordan Phillips, Quinn Ford, Tim Settle, and or some of these practice squad guys that have been called up. Kendall Vickers, Eli Anku, shout out to him, Canadian boy. But Ed Oliver continues to be a catalyst up front, continuing to pull the load defensively and say, you know what, boys, let's follow me. I will lead us and continue to be dominant. There was a pass rush there on Cody Mock, I believe it was, that he actually blew him up. They showed a nice replay on the broadcast there last night, and he's playing great football, and I think is a huge, huge key for us going forward if he can stay healthy, because we saw how much different the Bills defense looked with him in the lineup. So, back to the decision making, Jason. This is why Jason and I watched from the couch, and Sean McDermott's paid the big bucks. Personally, I was a little bit frustrated. Now, hindsight is 2020, Jason, right? I'm glad that you brought it up, right? I'm obviously able to criticize watching on the couch when I have no ties, my job is in the line. Now, if my defense is up, I'm talking about if I'm Sean McDermott, I'm calling the defense, right? I'm a defensive-minded head coach, and my defense is playing great up to this point. You've only let up 1 touchdown. The offense going to turn over the ball inside the 25-yard line, gave him a short field. Now you're up 14 each of those 4 times that you punted. 3 of those 4 punts, Jason, inside the 10-yard line. One punt was down to the 8-yard line, 3-yard line, and I want to say the 2-yard line. So hindsight is 2020. I was for the brand, all these fist pumps when I was watching this. Great punt. Now, if we're playing Kansas City, if let's say next Sunday night we're playing Cincinnati, if we punt those balls, you're sadly mistaken if you're Sean McDermott thinking that your defense is going to go bail you out and get a stop. I think you got to go for the kill, because we got away with it last night, but let's be honest. If we watch that game back, they were a Mississippi or 2 from Godwin turning around just that half second earlier and being able to catch that ball. The ball was within his reach. He just turned around that half second later. So played with fire. If that's Kansas City, Philly, Cincinnati, Baltimore, Miami in Week 18, I really feel like that cost the Bills, because they're not able to get a stop that that Sean McDermott believes they can. I really feel like he needs to know his team. Really feel like I know he has some pride and has his he feels like that's my side of the ball, and that is his side of the ball. But you got to know where your bread's buttered, man, and that's with Josh Allen having the ball in his hands. And if it's 4th and 1. And this is another frustrating thing. I believe we were 3rd and 1 or 4th and goal, where we tried to get Dalton Kincaid the touchdown on 3rd down, I believe it was. We had the pitch pass to Dalton Kincaid. He was down at the 1-yard line. This is my only gripe with Ken Dorsey in that game. We ran a shotgun on 3rd and 1 from the 1-yard line. In the shotgun, ran the ball, gets targeted for loss. And then I believe we turned over to the turnover on downs. Was that turnover on downs, or was that the Gabe Davis touchdown? I don't remember.
Yeah, it was. I think the next play was an incomplete pass, and I think this has happened multiple times with that shotgun run near the goal line.
3rd and 1. Please, dear Jesus, do not get cute with it anymore. I understand Josh Allen's hurt. Please touch the guy for 1 yard. With this third one, because he stopped twice. And that's getting cute. Can you hear me, Jason?
It's just your mic's kind of yeah, you can't really hear too well. Um, yeah, to carry on what Cole was saying, I mean, yeah, I think that just the play calling has gotten a little too cute near the goal line there. I think at the end of the day, why is there a need to take the ball off the line of scrimmage in that situation when you can see that the quarterback sneak or even like a fullback dive or something like that would be a much more effective play? And yeah, it just drives me nuts when coordinators make those kind of calls in that situation, because shotgun runs I don't find the most effective plays in any given situation either.
Even like you can hand it. You don't have to give it to Josh Allen, but you can hand it to Latavius Murray in the I formation, but let him get like moving forward. If you're in the gun, he's standing still, right? Like he's at a standing, and the defense I feel like is kind of anticipating that coming and is able to flow downhill and really get a jump on the running back
Yeah.
when he's kind of trying to look for a lane, look for a hole when he knows that the defense knows that they're getting the ball. Instead, let him get downhill and generate some momentum towards the line of scrimmage. I just really feel like too cute. And if we're in that situation, whether maybe that played a part into Sean McDermott not being so confident in that situation, why he punted it in that 4th and 1. But just I don't know. I feel like those two situations just really ticked me off, as well as the 4 decisions to punt. Hindsight's 2020. Sean McDermott knows what he's talking about. Obviously, he punts the ball down inside the 10. It ends up paying off. But if it's next Sunday, if it's against the Chiefs, if it's against Philly, if it's in the playoffs against Baltimore, I really feel like that comes back to haunt us and bite us in the behind. So I really feel like Sean McDermott has to know his personnel a little bit better going forward, and just know that I love that you're a defensive minded head coach. I know that's your side of the ball, and I know you have belief, but have some belief in your offense. It just so happens that they're pretty good at the football too. So it's another crazy thing that the Bills going into yesterday, 3rd highest scoring offense, or whatever you want to see, team in the NFL at 28 points per game. They obviously scored 26, so it'll be around maybe 27 point whatever it is points per game. They are the 3rd highest scoring team in the NFL, considering all these struggles. I know that it's inflated because the 40 something game against Miami, 30s, the high 30s against Washington and Oakland, but that being said, it still levels itself out to your team is able to put that up on a somewhat weekly basis. So need to get a little bit on track, but it was positive, Jason, to see the team get a win. I'm glad that we did not do like I tweeted to you, to my guy Blake. I'm glad we did not do a post game show on Sunday, because I was quite frustrated, and I was a little rattled. Like you've been quite accustomed to, Jason. I try to stay off the roller coaster, my friend. I try my best to take a level-headed approach to it, and just like for people that are Bills fans, right? Like that watch the Bills with kind of like just one eye, such tunnel vision on the Bills. Take that approach and watch any other team in the NFL, literally any other team in the NFL, and narrow in on that team the way that you do in the Bills, and critique them the way that you do in the Bills, and you'll see how frustrated you get. That's Kansas City through San Fran to Philly to Baltimore to anybody in the NFL. It's a week-to-week league, and if you don't show up and bring your A game, and if you don't show up, and I feel like the Bills, we didn't see Ed Oliver on Sunday versus the Patriots, and he's good to go on Thursday. I really feel like the Bills slightly maybe overlook the Patriots, and if you do that on any given Sunday, you can get beat. It's a one-score league as well. On average, teams win by 1 score in the NFL. So people that have been so used to, and it's crazy to me because of where we've been, Jason, as Bills fans too, that people are literally this spoiled because of the last few years that they're crying over this Josh Allen-led offense. It has 17 touchdowns now, which will be, I don't know where it'll rank after the week. 3rd most points in the league. We're 5-3. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. But will he give us a chance every week? Absolutely. And it's crazy to me that we have these criticisms because it happens on a weekly basis. San Fran's lost 2 straight. It happens. Miami just lost. Yes, they lost to Philly. It happens, people. Especially in September, October, which I feel like is a silver lining to these struggles, Jason. I feel like the Bills have been the opposite of this the last since 2020. They come out of the gates flying. They absolutely look like world beaters. They look like, oh, they're the Super Bowl favorites for a reason. And they lose all steam going into December, going into January. They get by, they win a few playoff games, and or they lose all steam. We saw last year they lost absolutely all steam. They were lucky to get by Skylar Thompson and the Miami Dolphins. The, so it's kind of nice to see that, they're struggling right now. And if this Bills team gets hot, Jason, I'm obviously a homer. I have bias in this, but the NFL doesn't want to see the Buffalo Bills get hot going into the playoffs. I'm just going to say that right now, because we saw what Josh Allen was capable a few years ago when he got hot, when he got on a heater going into the playoffs. I'll remind folks that we were 7-5 after a Tampa Bay Buccaneers loss going into, what is that, week 13, I believe it was, because we had a bye week. 7-5, we ended up, I believe, going 11-5, winning the division, and Josh Allen went on the heater. Perfect game against the Patriots. Who'd we beat? Baltimore, I believe, in the second round, and then the heater in Kansas City, where we unfortunately weren't able to pull that one out. We won't talk about that one. We'll save that one for another day. But Jason, anything else you would like to discuss when it comes to the 24-18 Buffalo Bills victory last night?
Yeah, not really regarding the game last night, but I mean, like I said before, this schedule gets very, very tough for the Bills. So if this team is going to make the playoffs, let alone win the division, they're going to have to earn it these next several weeks. They play Cincinnati, they play Philly, they play Kansas City, Dallas, and the Chargers, which is not looking like too hard of a game right now on paper, but they can put up points over there in LA. So I'm really interested to see how the rest of this season goes for the Bills, especially how they've looked lately. But I think they're a team that's capable of playing up to their competition and beating the very best teams in this league when they're playing their best, as we saw against the Dolphins. So we just got to hope we see that version of the Bills going forward. And it starts next Sunday night against Cincy.
It does. For me, Jason, I definitely have a little concern, I guess I would say, with the schedule, right? Because it is hard, don't get me wrong, right? But as much as I think Bills fans and even I have lost a little bit of confidence going forward because the losses in the early season, and yes, these games become that much more important because of the early season struggles, that these are must-win games now instead of you can have a slip up here or there. Now you actually have to win some of these big games. That being said, I really feel like people have kind of forgotten who we are, forgotten who the Buffalo Bills, and I really feel like as Bills fans, we got to remember who we have and kind of who we are. Absolutely, we should be concerned with Joe Burrow and that offense coming in, and Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, all these guys. But like I really feel like people like forget we have Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs and like all these elite players that those fan bases worry about just as much as we try to worry about them. So carry a little bit of swagger amongst yourself, Bills Mafia, and remember who we have. And that's why, Jason, ultimately I try to stay off that ups and downs, peaks and valleys, highs and lows, right? Because if Josh Allen's under center, he's going to give you a chance to win every single Sunday, every single season, as long as he's healthy. And that's not an overreaction. That's not an outrageous take. That's not a hot take. He is one of the best quarterbacks, one of the best players in the NFL. He's playing with a hurt shoulder. I'm not. Did you see that he went into the blue tent yesterday?
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
Yeah. So playing with the AC joint, some sort of injury in his AC joint that is definitely concerning, considering we're in week 8, where I will be praying every night to the football gods to keep Josh Allen's right shoulder safe. That we've seen, Anthony Richardson's out for the year with an AC joint injury. Derek Carr's battling an AC joint injury in New Orleans. Not a good situation, but Josh Allen continues to battle through it and be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. So I really feel like people have to remember who we have. Remember that 17 is one of the best to do it in the NFL. So, Jason, the Bills get to 5-3, my friend. Back to business. Gotta keep stacking wins. For those that are sick of the Bills, I'm sure that a lot of people are. Get used to us because we'll be on prime time a lot. I believe Sunday night, not this upcoming week. Next Sunday night, not this upcoming one, next Sunday night versus Cincinnati. And then I believe we are on Monday Night Football the week after that. So primetime Bills are back in effect. And I believe they are the Bills come on when the lights are brightest, Jason. So I'm expecting the Bills to hopefully round into form here, stack some wins. Most importantly, you got to keep stacking wins against AFC divisional opponents because of some of your losses that you already have in the Jets, Patriots, and Jacksonville, all being AFC divisional losses, and those being 2 divisional losses. So you're going to have to stack some of these wins, especially if we see the Jets here in a couple weeks. I believe we see the Patriots again here soon. So those are must wins when it comes to catching Miami Dolphins for the Division One, because not too sure. It's gonna be an uphill climb, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not gonna lie. That's what I would say I'm the least confident in, Jason, as a Bills fan. Is I'm not entirely sure if we're gonna win the division this year. That doesn't throw my confidence off for the Bills, because I think of Joe Flacco making himself of a career of being that wild card quarterback, getting the Baltimore Ravens in the playoffs, going on a run. I think of Eli Manning making a career of that, getting 2 Super Bowls off of being that quarterback of 9-7 or whatever the Giants were that one year, and upsetting the undefeated Patriots in the Super Bowl. So get in the playoffs, get hot. Obviously, we love home field advantage, and that's most important. But I'll be honest, that is going to be an uphill climb, Jason, if I'm being very honest, because the Miami Dolphins are a good ball club. They've been somewhat, quieted down, tamed the last few weeks, but don't don't get it twisted, folks. They are an elite ball club, and as embarrassing as it sounds, because we just lost the Patriots, they do play the Patriots this Sunday, folks, and I would imagine they get back on track. That is embarrassing because we just lost them, and I can't really say that. But I would imagine Miami Dolphins get back on track. They get a win. They stay 2 games above us as of now. We just got to catch them, and hopefully they slip up going forward. So, Jason, that'll end Bills talk for tonight. They win 24-18, move to 5-3 in the conference, and go Bills for now. And we'll see you guys next Thursday night. So, Jason, getting into the Week 8 NFL preview, my friend. I believe I have first pick this week, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yeah, you go first.
Okay. So I'm gonna go with. I went back and forth. I was gonna go a little bit out of left field, but I'm hoping you're not gonna steal this second or third. I guess you have this. I guess you have second. You have the turn. I'm gonna go with a shocking one, and I'll maybe give you the layup, and we can talk a little bit about more. I'm quite interested. I know on paper it doesn't sound like an interesting game, but I'm interested in the Texans at Panthers game this week. The first overall versus the number 2 overall pick. The quarterbacks going head to head. Personally, Jason, I love NFL Sunday when the Bills are on. Nothing I love more than having the Bills game on, having NFL Red Zone on. But to be completely honest, I don't watch a majority of Red Zone while the Bills game's on. So what rivals watching the Bills on Sunday is when the Bills win and you're able to enjoy Sunday with knowing the Bills won, you're able to sit on the couch, watch whatever games you want, flick back and forth, have Red Zone on, have a game on, whatever you. I will definitely be paying attention to this game. Want to see both these young quarterbacks play each other. Obviously, I would imagine they're kind of this will be the first kind of time that they're able to play each other and write their story of they'll be labeled and kind of always compared to each other coming out of the same draft, all that sort of thing. So really excited to see these guys play for the first time. Both of them obviously struggling. I believe Carolina is still yet to win. Texans are obviously doing a little bit better at 3-3 with CJ Stroud showing a little bit more promise or a little bit more comfortability so far in his young NFL career. But super excited for this one. I know it's not maybe the most exciting game to start out with, but I am going to I wanted to talk about that one most importantly, so I'm going to steal that one and save you the maybe the good one I think that you're going to pick. But Jason, is there anything that you're looking forward in terms of this matchup?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, anytime that quarterbacks are selected, first, second, third overall, multiple of them in the same draft, I mean, they're going to be linked to each other forever. And I think that it's going to be very interesting to see, if Bryce Young can get his first career win against CJ Stroud in this game. I think it's all very possible. I think that, the Panthers have been in some of these games lately, but look at the game they had against the Dolphins. Like they were up 14-0 right at the beginning of that game. So I think the Panthers are, really getting closer to that first win, and it definitely could come this week against the Texans. CJ Stroud has really impressed me so far. So, I mean, yeah, just looking forward to the quarterbacks in this game, most importantly. And if Houston wins, they'll be 4-3 on the season.
And pretty impressive considering, a young quarterback. I feel like they've sorry, Jason, what's their head coach that just came in, the linebacker, the former linebacker?
D'Amico Ryans.
D'Amico Ryans, his first year as kind of head coach, taking over the organization. So some positivity, and I feel like a win versus Carolina on Sunday is just another added positivity to their season, because even if they were to miss the playoffs, I feel like maybe some Houston Texans fans wouldn't maybe like some of these wins, kind of like Patriots fan not loving the win last Sunday because they want to finish as low as possible. But I would imagine if you're a Houston Texans fan, just keep winning. Give this guy as much confidence as you can. If you build that foundation, free agents will come want to play with him, especially offensive free agents. And if you're able to draft properly, you'll be able to hit somewhere in the middle of the first round there, because ultimately I don't think they're able to get in the playoffs, Jason, but I would think they're going to stay competitive here. Maybe, finish around, maybe 7-9, something like that. Be a really competitive ball club, have some real foundational kind of things to take into next year, and really hit the ground running with CJ Stroud moving forward. So looking forward to this game. And I'll be honest, outside of the quarterbacks, I don't really watch a lot of Houston Texans, Carolina Panthers on Sunday. So I'm looking forward to the quarterback matchup, and that's what I'll be paying attention to, as well as I need Tank Dell to score. He's on my fantasy team this week. I had to sit a few guys. Tank Dell, I need you to score this week, buddy. So, Jason, I will send this back over to you for 2 and 3.
Yeah, so I thought this slate of games this week is actually loaded. I think that there are a lot of very interesting matchups this week. So I had a hard time picking 6 potential matchups that we could pick in this draft tonight. But ultimately, my first pick, which would have been my first pick, regardless of who you picked. Considering who you picked first, that is. I'm going to take Jacksonville at Pittsburgh, and I'm very shocked that the Pittsburgh Steelers are 4-2 on the season. They certainly haven't looked the part of a 4-2 football team, but this is their chance to make a big statement against a great AFC opponent in Jacksonville. Jacksonville really starting to find their mojo. Have they won 4 games in a row now? Guys like Travis Etienne are looking really, really strong for them, as we discussed a few weeks ago when they were on Thursday night against the Saints. So I think this is a good opportunity for Pittsburgh to really make a statement, and they're at home in this one. So I think they have a shot to pull an upset in this one, if you could call it that. I think that Jacksonville is definitely capable of losing to teams that I don't think they quite put them in that elite tier, that Kansas City tier of the AFC quite yet, but they're getting close. If they can continue to stack the wins here and get a top 3 seed in the AFC by season's end, I think they have a chance to go on a run and be a threat to make the Super Bowl out of the AFC. And Pittsburgh, I mean, just the culture that they've established there, they always just seem to have a solid ball club, and I'm really excited to see who comes out on top in this matchup.
Yeah, this should be another interesting one as well. I feel like this will be a physical matchup. Both kind of the Steelers, you know what to expect from them, and I feel like the Jags defense is a very physical one. Some of those guys that they have up front, some of those linebackers. I believe you noticed one of the linebackers when we played the Jags a few weeks ago that has been flying around. Looking forward to this one as well, Jason. I definitely agree with you that this week, this slate of games is definitely an exciting one, and makes it even better when I'm up Sunday morning, Jason. Remember that 10 a.m. I get up for Sunday football, buddy. But Sunday morning, I'm able to set the fantasy lineup, maybe make it better too. Throw on the NFL Red Zone, enjoy a nice morning slate, then an afternoon slate. It should be a nice packed Sunday, as well as I believe Sunday night's a decent one too. I believe I forget who's on Sunday night specifically, but when it comes to the Jags and Pittsburgh, I'm really interested in this one too, because I think at the Jags' peak, they're up. They live up to that 5-2 form, but I really feel like as well, sometimes the Jags can maybe tend to not get out of the gate so fast, and really, I feel like that's just kind of them still learning themselves, still building that foundation. Right, Trevor Lawrence is still a young quarterback. Christian Kirk's only in the second year over there, as well as Calvin Ridley finally getting back. So they're still kind of figuring out things. Travis Etienne, obviously. And I really feel like they're going to be even more scary here in a few years when Trevor Lawrence gets even more comfortable. Doug Peterson and him have that foundation of, they can just kind of go back to, hey, remember in 2021 when we ran this type of play? Let's get back to this, or concept, whatever it may be. So I think the Jags will only get even scarier. But I just really feel like, you know, they have somewhat benefited from, no offense, but playing Atlanta in London, as well as staying there and then playing us. Uh, not any excuses on the Bills' part, but just I feel like that London game was winnable, and some of those wins, and not to take anything them away, because obviously some of the Bills' wins could be losses. So that's how it goes in the NFL. But I feel like this is somewhat of a I'm don't get me wrong, I'm taking the Jags, and I expect the Jags to win, but I wouldn't be surprised to see it at Sunday at 1 o'clock that, Pittsburgh kept it close, and/or Pittsburgh pulled off an upset, and I would think it's an upset. That's rightfully so, but I think this is going to be one of those games that, like I said, an exciting game, hard physical fight type game, and then excited to see who comes out on top, because if Pittsburgh's able to win this game, that's just Pittsburgh being Pittsburgh, and kind of stealing a game off a team that's a better team than probably they are on paper, as well as just talent wise, but. Pittsburgh, you know what to expect when they come in with Mike Tomlin and that organization. They're going to come in ready to play, well coached, well prepared. So should be a good game on Sunday. Jason, anything else before your third pick?
Yeah, no, I mean, Kenny Pickett, I'm just looking forward to seeing if he could take the next step and, become one of these promising young quarterbacks. I feel like he's not quite there yet, and we haven't seen the consistency from their offense as of yet. More of a defensive story with Pittsburgh. So that's what I'm looking forward to in the coming weeks, if Pittsburgh can stay in the playoff hunt, and if that offense can really elevate their game.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And what's your thoughts of Kenny Pickett, man? Because it's kind of unfortunate for him, right? Because um, it's unfortunately just kind of playing the odds, and at this point, the AFC is absolutely loaded. For me, coming into the season, kind of a little bit silly, because I am maybe being a little bit too analytical, or whatever you want to call it. But coming into the season, I thought there's no way the AFC can get another elite level good quarterback in CJ Stroud. I thought, Bryce Young's probably going to be a little bit of the better quarterback. It appears that CJ Stroud so far has been the better of the two quarterbacks. Now, it is early, things can change, but the AFC is absolutely loaded. And coming into this year, I had a little bit higher hopes of Kenny Pickett, and he has struggled a little bit more than I anticipated. I wasn't the highest on Kenny Pickett, don't get me wrong, but I thought kind of we would see a little bit more than have had from him. What are your thoughts? Do you think, kind of, I know it's early in his career, it's unfortunate, but just the NFL and kind of how it is, do you think kind of the pit, like, what would you kind of, if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers going into next year, feel confident in that, you're building this foundation around Kenny Pickett? I know it's early and he is a higher pick, so it's a little bit hard to get off those guys earlier, but it is a business, and I feel like the Steelers of any organization would be one to pull the trigger on, kind of, you know what, I don't know if I love what I see, and maybe they draft a quarterback in maybe the second or third round, not a high guy, because I feel like they win some of those games that would keep them away from. I believe Tomlin said, "I don't want to win enough games to draft high enough to draft you, Chase Young," or something like that a few years ago on Mic'd Up. So, what are your thoughts and opinions on Kenny Pickett as a quarterback, and do you think the Steelers have a franchise level quarterback?
I think what I've seen so far from him in his NFL career, he's right around that average territory. It really doesn't feel like he has the upside to be much more, but I don't think he is a bad quarterback by any stretch. And they clearly like him in Pittsburgh. Obviously, he's a local guy, went to University of Pittsburgh. So, I mean, clearly they like him there. And, Pittsburgh, with the team that they have and the way that they've been constructed to win games, I think they can have somewhat of a successful season with him. But I think at the end of the day, he's kind of like, it's early to say this, but I don't know if you're familiar with a few years ago the Andy Dalton scale, where it's like, if you have a quarterback that's better than Andy Dalton, then you have your guy. But if he's worse than Andy Dalton, then you should get another quarterback. So I think Kenny Pickett may be settling into that territory when it comes to the hierarchy of NFL quarterbacks.
For me, it'd be, can you win with Kenny Pickett, right? Can he be that game manager? Can he lead a game-winning drive? I'm not too sure if I'm that confident if I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers in a Kenny Pickett being a can you win with quarterback, right? He doesn't have to be blow your socks off, be that quarterback, but can he be that wild card type quarterback with a Pittsburgh Steelers-led defense that you know what to expect with TJ Watt, those boys. They're going to play hard. They're going to get you some stops, turnovers, all that sort of thing. Mike Tomlin's going to keep the bunch disciplined, well prepared, like I said. Can you win those crucial games? And I don't know if Kenny Pickett's the guy not to dump on him too much because I enjoy watching the Steelers just because growing up, they've always been the one of the franchises that is kind of the model of consistency, always being competitive. That stat of Mike Tomlin never being under 500 as a head coach. So just really good stuff from the Pittsburgh Steelers and hope they're able to have some success because I like them as a franchise. Jason, your number 2 pick in tonight's draft.
Yeah, so one more thing on the Pittsburgh thing. I think I would like to see Kenny Pickett with a different offensive coordinator. I don't think they necessarily have the best offensive coaching right now in Pittsburgh with Matt Canada as the offensive coordinator. So I'd like to see him with a different offensive coordinator and see how he looks like that. But that's my final note on Pittsburgh and Kenny Pickett. My second pick in the draft and the third pick overall in our draft tonight, I'm going to go with the 3-3 Cincinnati Bengals visiting the 5-2 San Francisco 49ers. And one thing is going to happen out of these two possibilities. Either Cincinnati's going to win 3 games in a row, build a ton of momentum going into that Bills game next week, or San Francisco is going to lose 3 games in a row. Or I guess San Francisco would potentially not would break their losing streak. But San Francisco, if Cincinnati wins, San Francisco would lose 3 games in a row, and they're going to be on a concerning slide of their own. And Sam Darnold, it looks like, is going to be playing in this game for San Francisco. So really interested to see how he plays. I think there's a good possibility that he plays well. I think this is the best, surrounding cast that he'll ever be given by far in his NFL career so far. So really interested to see how he plays and how this Bengals offensive line matches up against that defensive line of the 49ers. On paper, that is a massive mismatch, but Cincinnati's been playing much better football as of late, so looking forward to seeing how they play in this matchup.
Yes, looking forward to this one, Jason. This was going to be my first pick, but I thought you'd pick this at one of your 2 picks, so I figured we could talk about it a little bit more, and I could steal the one that maybe you possibly try to steal from me. So looking forward to this one. Obviously, Brock Purdy has been in a little bit of a weird situation because it looks like Brock Purdy was in the concussion protocol, but had practice, I believe, yesterday or today, one of the two. But going into the season, I had thought that Sam Darnold was going to be the 49ers starting quarterback because of Purdy's elbow injury from last season. It sounded like that Purdy was going to miss a significant amount of time, that Sam Darnold would be given the keys going into the season. Now, Purdy was able to recover a little bit early and not miss any time starting from week 1. I had thought, Sam Darnold might play good enough that maybe Kyle Shanahan doesn't even go back to Brock Purdy because the surrounding cast, the offense, how Sam Darnold's kind of he didn't play that type of offense at SC, but sort of similar to that kind of style of Kyle Shanahan of play action, getting the ball out of your hands nice and quickly, really leaning on the run game. So looking forward to seeing how Sam Darnold does. I don't think at this point he wins the game and takes Brock Purdy's spot because of how well Brock Purdy's played in recent weeks. Maybe not in recent weeks, but through 8 weeks this season. I think this is a somewhat of kind of like a Baker Mayfield type game for Sam Darnold, where Baker Mayfield went to, was it LA last year, kind of impressed a little bit on a short week kind of thing. Was able to kind of, show some teams that were watching that, I have a little bit of film left, able to put some stuff on the resume for maybe this offseason, something like that, maybe a trade deadline, maybe some team loses a quarterback. And I was looking for someone that's a veteran-led guy that can come in and take over. But I think this is an important game for Sam Darnold as well as the 49ers. Cincinnati, they have kind of found their form a little bit more, obviously 3-3. My Bills fan is obviously telling me that I am absolutely all over the 49ers because I want the Cincinnati Bengals to come in losing, but I think that'll even make them a more desperate ball club when they play the Bills here in, I would say, I guess, 10 days, Jason, 9 days, whatever it may be, but should be a good one considering that Cincinnati's starting to somewhat find their form, and then the 49ers are a very talented roster from top to bottom and should be able to hang with the Cincinnati Bengals, considering they'll be without their starting quarterback on Sunday. But Ultimately, I think this will come down to probably a one possession game where the 49ers end up winning late, in my opinion. So, Jason, is there anything else that comes to mind when it comes to Cincinnati versus San Fran?
Yeah, not particularly, but I mean, I guess with San Francisco, if they lose a third game in a row here, then the division starts to be a little bit in question there with Seattle. I believe they're 4-2 right now, or 4-3, or something like that. So I think that is a big game for San Francisco to win this week against Cincy. So I think there's a lot on the line for both of these teams, and I'm really looking forward to it.
So I get two picks here now, right?
Yep, that is correct.
Perfect. Okay. Now you're not can't steal any of my picks here, Jason. So I'll go with number one, and this is another out of left field, probably one that you're not expecting. Again, due to the quarterback, Jason, do you have any guesses on the game that maybe I'm going to pick? Only it's due to the quarterback alone.
I'm trying to see what I have here. Is it Cleveland, Seattle?
It is not. So I have for my second pick, I am interested to watch the Chicago Bears at the LA Chargers.
Wow.
Tyson Bagent. Not too sure if you heard of his story, Jason, last weekend. I believe is a Div 2 quarterback out of Shepherd University. Yes, that is Shepherd University. Comes off the bench for the Chicago Bears last weekend, is able to give them a win in his first start. I believe he had, he honestly didn't blow anybody away. I think he had 186 yards or something like that. But he made some good throws, gave his team the possibility to win, and a great story. I remember seeing this guy at the not even actually seeing this guy, which is kind of funny. But I remember hearing about this guy at the Senior Bowl, Jason. Not too sure how much you watch the Senior Bowl or pay attention to any of that. But the Senior Bowl that's on NFL Network every, I want to say February there in Mobile, Alabama. His dad, Jason, I believe, is a or was a kind of all-state type arm wrestler or something like that. A big time, kind of reminds me like an MCDC type guy that brings the juice, a lot of energy. Uh, Obviously, because Tyson Bagent it kind of been, I believe, the only Div 2 player or whatever at the Senior Bowl. They had interviewed his dad. Obviously, with all the energy and stuff like that, the network probably loved it. Maybe he had some conversation with some people that are behind the scenes at NFL Network. Ended up kind of getting him on the on the live air. He ended up arm wrestling. I want to say it was like Mike Garafolo or something like that. One of the NFL Network guys, and just really good content, and always stuck with me because of that. And then I remember the Bills played them in the preseason, and he had a fairly good showing. I believe he threw a touchdown that was a dime actually. And then just kind of always remember the kid. Paid attention to him a little bit last week. I didn't watch the Chicago Bears game, but I went back, watched the highlights. Was able to kind of see that he made a few throws that were impressive. And like I said, not really an overall impressive game. Only like 186 all total yards or something like that. Didn't blow anybody away, but just shout out to him because Div 2 quarterback, Div 2 NFL player alone is super impressive. Shout out to Fred Jackson, former Buffalo Bill. I believe he is a Div 2 or Div 3 alumni, yeah. I believe, co-college. You don't see it too often. So just shout out to any of those guys that are kind of defying the odds, really doing good things, writing their own NFL story. And I feel like this guy maybe some sort of like a Taylor Heineke, whereas he's able to impress. Not quite the similar story, but another small school guy who's able to show teams that maybe he can be a career-long backup that can, make himself a pretty good career and take care of his family for a long time to come. So not the most sexiest of games, Jason, that I've picked so far here because the records, but just from a quarterback's perspective, literally looking forward to this one. I know my bias probably being a former quarterback playing a big part in these ones, but I would imagine the Chargers probably roll in this one, to be honest. I know Justin Herbert is a little bit banged up dealing with that fractured finger. And you never know with the Chargers being the Chargers. They could charger in this one. But I would expect the Chargers to win this one because of just I expect the Chargers to be a competitive team when it comes to them being in the playoff race. So getting this one would be an important one for them, not playing down to the Chicago Bears, unlike a Buffalo Bills in recent weeks. Looking forward to this one, Jason. I'm not too sure what you probably, as probably you don't have a lot of notes. honestly, Jason, my notes on this one, I have it's at the bottom of it, and it's just Tyson Bagent and a few other of my just things that nodded down. So I would imagine you probably don't have too much to say, but is there anything that comes to mind when it's the Chicago Bears, LA Chargers this weekend?
Yeah, changing it up. I like it. Yeah, this game is interesting. It's interesting that this is the Sunday night game this week because I mean, I guess coming into the year, Justin Fields had a lot of hype, and obviously Herbert is a great quarterback himself. But I think with the situation being what it is and how the Bears' season's gone to this point, this matchup doesn't look the sexiest on paper, but I do like it from the pure chaos perspective of potentially if the Bears win this game, if the Bears win this game, then I think there could be a house cleaning in LA if the Chargers lose this game on Sunday because they'll be 2-5, I believe, because they lost to Kansas City last week. So I mean, at that point, you're almost out of the playoff race. I mean, this is almost a must-win game for the Chargers. So I'm very interested to see if they step up to the plate and win this game. But like you said, the story of the undrafted quarterback from Division II, I think that's something to watch, and he'll be under the bright lights on Sunday night.
I'm all about the chaos this week, Jason. I don't know why. I'm just feeling in a chaos mood tonight. So, looking forward to them. Like I said, I watched the game. I guess slightly a little bit different than probably most. It's funny because I actually had this conversation with an lineman. I think I told you this story, Jason, but playing with some former teammates, I kind of had the conversation. We were watching football one night. Like, who do you specifically watch? Like when you watch like football or whatever? And he was like, I watch the O line because I'm an lineman, right? And I feel like people probably watch different things, but because I guess I play quarterback, I tend to watch a little bit more of the quarterback than anything else, specifically more than like maybe downfield sort of thing. So for me tonight, I was kind of leaning towards a quarterback side of things. Looking forward to a few quarterback matchups because I guess the Bills aren't playing, so I have a little bit more time to kind of focus in on these matchups rather than just kind of hop back and forth. Really just trying to pay attention to my fantasy team and who's scoring on Sunday like I'm used to. Tomorrow or on Sunday, I'm going to be a little bit more of kind of interested to see of who's playing and who's playing well and that sort of thing. So I was going to go with a even more chaos pick for my third pick, but I won't, and I'll save it for a good one before nobody wants to listen to us. But Jason, I'm going to go with my third pick, buddy. The Minnesota Vikings at the Green Bay Packers for a few reasons. I think the Vikings, as you know, I was high on coming into the season. I thought they would do better than they have. I believe they're 3-4 coming into this year. Jordan Addison has kind of come onto the scene here a little bit in recent weeks. I believe he has 6 receiving touchdowns in his young career so far. I'm curious, can Kirk Cousins and Jordan Addison continue to shoulder the load while Justin Jefferson is out for the Minnesota Vikings? I think this is a huge game for Minnesota because if you lose the Jordan Love-led Green Bay Packers, I really feel like this is kind of season over, depending on how serious the Justin Jefferson injury is. Maybe shut him down for a little bit longer period of time because I really feel like if they lose on Sunday, goodbye to your season. I know that sounds a little bit overreacting, but if you can't beat the Green Bay Packers in division, when you kind of need to start winning some of these games, if you're the Minnesota Vikings, you're talking about the Bills need to win some of these games. If you're the Green Bay Packers or the Minnesota Vikings at 3-4, you really need to not slip up here at all. So looking forward to Minnesota because coming into the year, there were some of the teams that are one of the teams that I was a little bit higher on and had more expectations for them. They have definitely underwhelmed quite a bit, but looking for them to hopefully continue to stack wins. I believe they had a win last week, if I'm not mistaken. Jordan Addison was able to have a impressive showing. Jason, as probably listeners, and you're well aware, I am horrible at fantasy this year in terms of fantasy management. I sat Jordan Addison last week. He had 2 touchdowns, I believe. Just terrible. I'd be, like I said, that's why I'm on the couch. I'd be fired if I was a Sean McDermott or I had any serious management abilities of any football operations. And that's why I'm on Twitter and a podcaster. So funny because it's funny because I kind of, I'm not the guy that like gets all worked up with fantasy of like, oh, I lost or anything like that. I kind of just play fantasy to have more fun or anything. So I'm glad I can kind of joke about it, but it is frustrating when you like lose by 10 points and you have like 25 on your bench or something like that. And it's like, you're such a dummy, Cole. And that's why I read Football for Dummies, Jason. Jokes aside, but anything that excites you when it comes to this matchup, Jason? A NFC North matchup between the Minnesota Vikings and Green Bay Packers in Lambeau Field.
Yeah, I think that it's going to be interesting to see if the Vikings can continue to build on the little bit of momentum they've started to build these last few weeks. Of course, they started 0-3 to the season, so now they've won 3 of their last 4 games, so they're kind of heating up. And if they can get hot the last part of the season here, or the last half of the season here, I think they could be a dangerous team in the NFC. I mean, Detroit had a slip up last week. They got blown out by Baltimore. So I think that, they're a scary team for the Lions in particular to play down the stretch, because I think they still have 2 games left against them. So, I mean, there's still a possibility if Minnesota can keep on racking up the victories, get above 500 or to 500 with a win this week on the road in Green Bay. It's in Green Bay, right? Yeah.
Correct, yep.
So this has been a tough place for Minnesota to win over the years. So I think it's going to be interesting to see if they can go in there and win. And Jordan Love, I think the jury is still out on him and his ability to be a franchise quarterback for the Green Bay Packers. I think he's shown some signs, but overall he's been far too inconsistent. So big prove-it game for both of these clubs.
Yeah, kind of sort of a similar conversation that I would have about Kenny Pickett. I'm not too sure if I quite like Green Bay's weapons to the and even Pittsburgh's not really the greatest weapons, but I like Christian Watson. I like I believe it's Romeo Dobbs, a few of those other guys, Aaron Jones and stuff coming out of the backfield, but not the greatest set of weapons for a young quarterback. But that being said, I just definitely have been a little bit underwhelmed from Jordan Love. Now it is what 3 decades or something like that of absolutely phenomenal quarterback, 2 Hall of Famers. So to be honest, at some point you were bound to get unlucky, Green Bay Packers fans. So I wouldn't be too heartbroken considering I know you only got 2 Super Bowls out of Favre and Rodgers, but you got your 2 Super Bowls, you got your 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks. It's been a pretty blessed 30 years of quarterback plays for Packers fans, and I think this is just kind of leveling out to form of you're not going to hit every single quarterback you draft, and it's going to be a mess sooner or later. Curious to see how this one plays out because, like you said, right, if the Vikings are able to create some of this momentum and get hot going into the playoffs, Justin Jefferson will return here in a few weeks. If you're able to keep stacking wins, he's able to get back in the lineup. That only adds the best receiver in football, if not number 2 best receiver in football. So, you always every year there's always a team that starts out slow and ends up getting into the playoffs, and maybe this year it's the Minnesota Vikings. Jason, I will send things back over to you for your 3rd and final pick of the week, buddy.
Yeah, this is so difficult because I have about 6 games written down here that haven't been picked yet. I'm going to stick with the theme of the night and go with a chaos pick. I'm going to go with the Battle of New York here with the 3-3 New York Jets visiting, quote unquote, the 2-5 New York Giants. And I mean, the Jets are a scary team that they're still hanging around here. 3-3, 500 record. I think they'll probably get the win here. I don't like Tyrod Taylor's chances of going against that Jets defense, but I mean, the Giants themselves have looked more competent in the coming weeks, in the previous weeks here. So I'm really excited to see, this matchup. We don't get the Battle of New York that often in the NFL, or the Battle of New Jersey, I should call it. But I think at the end of the day, it's going to be interesting to see if the Jets can stack another win here. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, there's rumors that he might be able to return by the end of this season. The Jets play the Bills coming up here in a couple of weeks again. So, I mean, they're a scary team that always seems to stick in a lot of these games, regardless of who they have at quarterback. So I'm interested to see if they can get another win here. And like I said, the Battle of New York can't beat it.
I love the chaos, my friend. I'm glad you embraced the chaos tonight. This is another game that I had jotted down as well. Like you said, there's definitely a few games I would have maybe liked to include, but just seeing as that we can't stay all night, we try to pick 6 games on a weekly basis. This is another game that I had written down as well. Looking forward to this one because the Battle of New Jersey. for one. And personally, you're definitely right, Jason. The Jets have been and to it should have been expected because of last year. We've seen that how good the Jets were, and they were kind of that quarterback away. It appears that Zach Wilson has found his form a little bit. There's definitely been some confidence that he's starting to slowly build behind his play in recent weeks, which is good to see because from being a quarterback, obviously not at any high level, but I have soft spots for quarterbacks. So outside of anybody that the Bills are playing on that any given week, usually I kind of somewhat root for the quarterback. So especially the crap that Zach Wilson was getting, I felt that a little bit of that stuff was unfair, and it's been nice that he's able to build a few positive weeks for himself. But I'll be honest, Jason, I really want the Jets to kind of go away and kind of I don't love it because they're a dangerous ball club. We play them here in a few weeks, if I'm not mistaken, and they match up against the Bills very well defensively. They always give us problems here in the last 3 or 4 matchups. Very young, fast, physical defense, and then they can run the ball, and they have a young weapon in Garrett Wilson that's a very big time playmaker. I would love them to just go away quietly in the night, and they have not done that whatsoever. Now, that being said, the Giants, obviously, I have a little bit of a soft spot for Tyrod Taylor, whatever he wants to pronounce his first name. It's funny because, like I've told you, Jason, going into the year, I have a good buddy of mine who's a Giants fan, so I was giving him quite a bit of crap back and forth of when the extension happened. I don't know what Brian Dable. I don't know as a Giants fan what you guys were thinking of extending Daniel Jones. Now, not to kind of go back on my word of sliding quarterbacks because I don't want to come down on the guy too hard, but I didn't think he was worthy of that extension of being labeled that franchise quarterback. Tyrod obviously comes into the game. He started, I think, 2 games now. He has just as many touchdown passes as Daniel Jones, as well as just as many wins as Daniel Jones. If Tyrod's able to win on Sunday, he's able to have the better winning record, as well as I would imagine if he's able to throw a touchdown or pass or two, have more touchdowns than Daniel Jones. Very curious to see if Brian Dable would go as far to kind of lean away from Daniel Jones if he does come back from injury here in the coming weeks because of Brian Dable's competitiveness, familiarity with Tyrod Taylor. Now, that being said, there is still the mistakes that you've seen from Tyrod Taylor. I think back to the Bills game a few weeks ago of them, for whatever reason, audibling to a run play on the goal line with no timeouts with 10 seconds left to go in the half, which was a very, very, very questionable mistake by Tyrod Taylor. Curious to see if he can build and go against this defense and get them a win, because I feel like it gives them some legitimate questions inside that locker room if you're a New York Giants fan or a player in there. So looking forward to this game as well, Jason. I think it should be a lower scoring game, but an exciting finish where maybe the last team that has the ball is able to kick a field goal and win a low scoring one. So any other thoughts, Jason, or maybe even any other games that maybe you just want to mention before we kind of wrap things up here tonight?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of games, like I said, that really piqued my interest this week, and I'm glad the Bills aren't playing on Sunday, so we'll be able to really, truly enjoy a lot of these games. Atlanta at Tennessee, I think this is kind of Tennessee's last stand. They're 2-4 on the season. This is a matchup that the coaching staffs are very familiar with each other. Arthur Smith, the Falcons head coach, offensive coordinator in Tennessee for many years, had a lot of success there. So excited to see that matchup kind of play out, and if Tennessee can get a desperation win there against the 4-3 Falcons. Cleveland at Seattle. I mean, I think it's PJ Walker who's going to be starting again for Cleveland in this game. So not too much interest from that perspective. I think we kind of know what PJ Walker is at this point, but I'm looking on the other side of the ball. I think that Cleveland defense against that Seattle offense, excited to see if one of these teams can start breaking through against this Cleveland defense that is really shaping up to be kind of a historic unit through the first 7 or so games of the season. New England at Miami, I think it'll be interesting to see how the Patriots defense does against this Dolphins attack. Second crack at them now. I think they held them to 24 points the last time they played. I think they were in New England.
And the Dolphins have been kind of quiet in the last few weeks, right? Obviously, they played
Yeah.
Philly, which is another elite team, but we saw it last week, right? Bill Belichick still knows how to scheme a defense, right? He's going to take away your best option. I would imagine he's probably going to limit Tyreek Hill. So I would expect the Dolphins to win. I was definitely going to maybe add this game in, but I thought Noah or Dolphins fans listening would be a little bit kind of would give me a little bit of crap of maybe potentially giving the Patriots a chance. And I think that's fair. Of it being a divisional game, you never know. We haven't seen the Miami Dolphins that we did through 4 weeks. They have been a little bit, I would say, quieter and or tamed in the last week, right? They obviously I believe they're 1-1 in the last few weeks, which is you know, like they're not on a slide or anything. Don't like I'm not trying to say that, but you know, Bill Belichick still people want to try to people are crazy to say like he's a scrub. He's not a scrub. He's considered one of the greatest of all time. I would just go as far to say I don't know if he's the greatest coach of all time. He's the greatest coach I've ever seen in my lifetime because I'm a little bit younger. I don't have any kind of recollection of any of those 90s coaches or 80s coaches. Some of those guys that kind of are held in Bill Belichick's tier, but I think he gives them a shot in this game. Ultimately, I see it kind of playing out the way that their game earlier in the season played out. It's a closer game, but the Dolphins end up pulling it out by maybe 10 or 14 points and end up pulling away with the win. So interested for this one, Jason, as well as you didn't mention Rams and Cowboys is another one that I'm interested to see that played on Sunday as well. Is there any other games that Jason that you're excited to watch on Sunday?
No, I think that actually wraps up the list I had over here.
Yeah, buddy, excited for it's going to be a good weekend of football. Like I said, I am excited to wake up Sunday morning. Hopefully, maybe doing some Halloween type festivities Saturday night. So hopefully, I'm feeling good Sunday morning. Maybe wake up to a nice breakfast, get on the couch, make sure I set my fantasy rosters. I'm probably going to lose because Jason, I don't start the right people. But should be a good Sunday. I'm excited for tomorrow as well. And I guess before we get out of here, quick segue, Jason, because we're the good Canadians. Excited for some good youth sports football tomorrow, Jason. UBC playing University of Alberta for a big matchup in the Canada West. Pretty much I don't know if it's for the 1 seed, but a big time game for the seedings. But Jason, before we get out of here, I want to ask you a two-part question that is a NFL question as well as a CFL question because I have to. I always try to throw it in the end because we're good, proud Canadians the way we are. I'm curious with the CFL awards kind of nominees coming out. Who is your MOP, and then who would be your MVP through 8 weeks in the NFL?
So for the CFL MOP, I mean, it's very tough, and I'm glad we have an actual race this year. I'll say that the last couple of years, it seems like Collaros really ran away with it, and I'm pretty shocked that Collaros didn't get the nomination for the Blue Bombers to be the most outstanding player in the league. But they went with Brady Oliveira, and I think he's a very worthy choice. I mean, if you're just talking outstanding, I think that Brady Oliveira has been more impressive as a running back than any of the quarterbacks have been, compared to each other this season in the CFL. So I got to go with Oliveira to win the award, even though Chad Kelly obviously has been, in my opinion, the story of the CFL season. His emergence as a first-year starter has just been incredible. So wouldn't be, a bad choice for him to win the award, and ultimately it will be likely Kelly and Oliveira at the league level. So interested to see how that award plays out. And then, for the MVP in the NFL, it's very interesting this year. I don't think there's really a runaway favorite as of right now. But if I'm to guess going forward who wins, I still like Mahomes. I think Mahomes still, even though, the numbers may not be as flashy this year, I still think they're going to put up a pile of wins. I don't see them dropping more than, 3 or 4 more games the rest of the way. So I'm still going to go with Mahomes to win the MVP in the NFL yet again this season.
Yes, it's going to be an interesting race. So, from a CFL perspective, it's funny, Jason. I wanted to ask you this because I had quite the debate with Noah on the way home from work yesterday. And it's funny because obviously people that aren't aware of Noah, a good buddy of mine, is a Winnipeg Blue Bombers fan, me being the BC Lions fan. He texted me asking, I feel like the BC Lions kind of messed up not nominating Matthew Betts for most outstanding player instead of VA. He was arguing for Matthew Betts. Now, personally, I was arguing for Brady Oliveira. Now, I think it's going to come down to, unfortunately, the bias of quarterback. Noah made a good point of, the CFL isn't like the NFL where they actually will award the MOP to a running back and or receiver, linebacker, I believe. It's seven other players in the last since '99 that are seven different positions outside of quarterback since '99 that have won MOP. So it's nice to see because in the NFL it's a little bit too much quarterback centric, and kind of where our conversation left off was maybe me being a little bit stuck in my ways or stuck in the NFL ways of I thought the CFL is just going to give it to Chad Kelly because of the story, them being in Toronto, all that sort of thing. Now, personally, I think if your numbers are better than 2019 Andrew Harris, I know all this sort of thing that Andrew Harris had to deal with in 2019 off the field, all that sort of ordeal. I'm not going to get into that. Brady has better numbers than Andrew that season, if I'm not mistaken. I know Andrew didn't win, but I believe he hit it tonight. I believe it's 15,000 rushing yards, 2,000 all-purpose yards. I believe the game's happening right now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But Brady Oliveira, in my opinion, should be the most outstanding player. I think he's had the best season, in my opinion. Could you argue for Betts? Maybe, I guess. He should be in the conversation, maybe. But I just think it comes down to probably Chad and Brady. Rooting for Brady, but I think ultimately Chad wins it. MVP for me would be between, I think, three people. Mahomes is definitely in the conversation. I think for me, Jason, the two front runners would be Lamar Jackson and Tyreek Hill for now. Not to slight any, not to people are going to think that I'm slighting Tua by saying Tyreek Hill and stuff like that. Not slighting Tua whatsoever. I know I've definitely been I would say maybe hard on Tua. You could even go as far to say unfair on Tua. Tua is a top 10 quarterback that is undebatable. I don't debate that whatsoever. I just think he is a very blessed by who, number one, calls plays, number two, who is around him on his offense, whether that be the receivers and running backs, and they're an absolute track team. So Tyreek Hill, what he is doing with on pace for 2,000 yards, I believe it's like 800 yards or whatever that he has already, is absolutely ridiculous. In my opinion, he is the most valuable player to that team. And I don't think that is a hot take. That is ridiculous to say. And I think if he gets 2,000 yards, he is rightfully and deserves to be in that conversation. Now, Lamar Jackson, for me, should be in that conversation. I think he is playing at a level where he was a few years ago when he won the MVP. For me, I look at those receivers, some of those running backs that are, average to maybe a little bit above average. Lamar Jackson is the straw that stirs that drink in Baltimore. He does a lot of heavy lifting for them. I kind of somewhat to maybe where Josh Allen was before Stephon Diggs arrived, where he had to really carry the load. And I think he is even more playing a more elite than Josh Allen was before Stephon Diggs arrived in Buffalo. I think Lamar Jackson definitely needs to be talked about in that conversation a little bit more in that MVP. And it's funny, Jason, because I agree with you that Mahomes needs to be in that conversation as well because of what he's doing. It's funny, people like to, celebrate the Miami Dolphins, rightfully so, the Jacksonville Jaguars, whoever's hot in the AFC, the Buffalo Bills for goodness sake, right? I'll even say it. And I think why some of my close friends that are Chiefs fans kind of come at me a certain way because they think I'm like other Bills fans that kind of like ignore the Chiefs or kind of not respect the Chiefs because of that rivalry. Like I said, Jason, I've told you a few times, I grew up with my uncle who's kind of like a father figure to me. He's a big Chiefs fan. He just went to the he drove to Kansas City from Vancouver Island here on the west coast of Canada for the Bears game, the home opener there. He's been to Kansas City multiple times. He's been to Denver, Seattle. He's seen Kansas City everywhere. So I grew up kind of with Kansas City being my second team. So I've always kind of had a soft spot with Kansas City. It just so happens now that we have a big rivalry. So I hate when we play them. When we don't play them, I respect the heck out of them. Mahomes is the greatest player in the league right now, and arguably on his way to the greatest quarterback of all time, in my opinion. So I respect the heck out of those guys. I don't slight them at all, but I think people tend to forget that the Chiefs are still around in the AFC. They're 6-1, if I'm not mistaken. Patrick Mahomes is still Patrick Mahomes. If I check correctly, they still have Andy Reid. So I think the Chiefs are a problem. I think Patrick Mahomes, as long as he's healthy, will be in that MVP conversation as well because he's going to put up the numbers. He doesn't turn over the football a lot. I know he's only a couple of interceptions behind Josh Allen, but I would imagine he continues to take care of the football and only finishes around maybe 10 or 12 interceptions. So he'll be in the conversation as well. So, Jason, that'll probably end things off for tonight, buddy. Is there anything else that you want to touch on? I know it's probably late there, getting late. It's midnight, I guess, around where where you are, eh?
Yeah, it is getting late here, but yeah, I think the Lamar pick is a very good one. I think that he is playing so well right now for Baltimore. Really, the only consideration for that is I've seen the last couple seasons and how they played out for Lamar, and unfortunately, he has not been able to be healthy at the end of these last couple of years. I think he's missed the last month of each of the last 2 seasons, so that would be the only thing that gives me pause for picking Lamar to win the award the rest of the season. But if you're talking about how they played the first 7 games of the season, which is what you asked originally in your question, I think Lamar definitely fits that billing.
Yeah, man, but that's why they play the rest of the season. There's still a long ways to go before they name an MVP and a lot of candidates, maybe a Josh Allen that can get their name in the running going forward. Personally, Jason, I don't think this might be a hot take. Personally, I don't think Josh Allen. Last thing before we get out of here, folks, I don't think Josh Allen will ever win an MVP.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be tough because I feel like there's almost a bias against the smaller market teams. I guess you could call Kansas City kind of a smaller market team by NFL standards, but I mean obviously Mahomes has been the best quarterback in the sport, so I mean that's why he's gotten the attention and the hardware that he has. But I mean Josh would just have to be, I think last year was probably his best shot. And ultimately, at the end of the day, they didn't get the number 1 seed because of what happened in Cincinnati. We don't have to get into that. But yeah, I think that he would have to lead the league in touchdown passes. That's usually who wins the award ultimately at the end of the day. I mean, look at Matt Ryan. I think he led the league in touchdown passes the year he won it. They didn't really have that spectacular of a record. I think they were 11-5 or something. But I think at the end of the day, yeah, Allen's probably not going to win an MVP award, but that's okay. It's not the end of the world.
Not the end of the world. Personally, my reasoning is because I think just I embrace his chaos like we've kind of done on this show tonight. I always feel like throughout his, we've seen, right? Most NFL touchdowns in 5 years, as well as most turnovers throughout 5 years or whatever it is, right? That's always going to be there throughout Josh Allen. Personally, I know it's frustrating sometimes. Don't get me wrong, folks. I want to absolutely throw my can through a freaking TV when he throws those dumb interceptions, but I've kind of embraced it. That's just Josh Allen, folks. He's a gunslinger. You're not going to get those outside the pocket type plays where you hit a Dalton Kincaid scrambling to the right. Dalton Kincaid's wide open because Levante David steps up because he's worried about a Josh Allen. You're not going to get those plays without those lows. So highs and you know what I say, Jason, all year, baby. Highs and lows, ups and downs, peaks and valleys. It's going to happen. Ultimately, I think Josh Allen is as elite as it comes, but I don't think he'll win an MVP because I think those games just happen throughout a year where he has a mental kind of breakdown or whatever you want to call it, where he turns over the football. Ultimately, it looks like he does kind of play, hero ball, lose his team the game in that sort of week or whatever you want to say. And I think that will kind of ultimately haunt him throughout his career, especially because as he gets older, the rushing numbers will only start to come down. His rushing totals will start to come down. That'll start to hurt him when it comes to MVP conversation. So personally, I'm not worried about any sort of MVP conversation. That's just what I've kind of been. Every year, people want to say, Josh Allen's the favorite or whatever. And I just think it's probably not going to happen because of that variance of him just being a aggressive type quarterback, throwing those interceptions that come. And it happens, folks. It's going to happen throughout a season. Those great plays aren't going to happen without the shitty plays. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in for another edition of the week NFL preview / Thursday Night Football reaction. Jason and I will be back for a regular schedule programming next Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. Should work out perfectly. Jason and I able to get back into the routine groove of going after Thursday Night Football. I guess my last message before we get out of here, buddy, as always, stay off the roller coaster, everybody. It's going to happen throughout an NFL season, ups and downs, peaks and valleys. The Bills are a good ball club. They're going to be there come the NFL season. So go Bills, and we will see you guys at next Thursday for an NFL game and some more NFL talks. Thanks for tuning in. See you guys next Thursday.